present value of mixed cash flows. It is common in investment decision making to deal with a mixed stream of cash flows. What do we mean by this? Maybe you have an opportunity that you are considering investing in. It will give you some money over a 5-year period or a 3-year period. So every year there is an inflow of cash from the project. Let us say for 5 years or for 3 years, and the amounts are not equal. That is an example of a mixed stream of cash flows. And for you to make a good decision, because these cash flows are to be received sometimes in the future, you'll need to get their value now, which means you discount them to the present for you to get their value now. So that is what we call determining the present value of mixed cash flows. Let's consider this example. It says the following is a mixed stream of cash flows occurring at the end of the year. So if a farm has been offered the opportunity to receive the above amounts and its required rate of return is 9%, what is the most it should pay for this opportunity? So it has an opportunity which is going to generate cash flows in the future. And you have the farm has a cost of capital where required return of 9%. You want to find out what is the present value of these opportunities for the purpose of making a proper decision on how much they should be willing to pay for this opportunity. So how do we proceed in answering this question? We discount each of these cash flows, then we get the sum of the discounted values. So like in this case, we have 5 years. So we can deal with the 5 years as shown as I'm illustrating. So that is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and then year 5. Then of course we have the cash flows for each of those years. It is 400, 800, 500, 400, 300. So that is 400,000. Then we have 800,000. Then we have 500,000. Then we have 400,000. Then we have 300,000. These are the cash flows being received each of those years. Then we have to get what you're calling the present value interest factor at 9%. So for each of these years, for year 1, it is going to be 1 plus 0.09 raised to negative 1. Then for year 2 is 1 plus 0.09 raised to negative 2. Then for year 3 is 1 plus 0.09 raised to negative 3. Then for year 4 is 1 plus 0.09 raised to negative 4. Then the last one is 1 plus 0.09 raised to negative 5. So that gives us the present value interest factor at 9% for each of those years. If we begin from the first one, and we're saying that is 1.09 raised to negative 1, that is 0.9174. So that is 0.9174. Then the second year is 1.09 raised to negative 2, because it's the second year. That is 0.8417. 0.8417. Then the next year is 1.09 raised to negative 3. Just make a correction. 1.09 raised to negative 3. That is 0.7722. 0.7722. Then The next year is 1.09 raised to -4. That is 0.7084. 0.7084. Then the last one is 1.09 raised to -5. That is 0.6499. 0.6499. So I proceed and get the present value of the cash flows. The present value is the actual cash flow. You multiply the present value interest factor. So the first one is 400,000 times 0.9174. So 400,000 times 0.9174. 0.9174. That is 366,960. 366,960. The next one is 800,000 multiplied by 0.8417. 0.8417. That is 673,360. 673,360. The third one is 500,000. Multiply this by 0.7722 times 0.7722. That is 386,100. 386,100. And the fourth one is 400,000. Multiply this by 0.7084 times 0.7084. That is 283,360. 283,360. And the last one is 300,000. 300,000. Multiply this by 0.6499 times 0.6499. That is 194,970. 194,970. 970. So we then do the sum of these cash flows. So that is 366,960. Then plus 673,360. Then plus 386,100. 386,100. Then plus 283,360. Plus 283,360. Then plus 194,970. 194,970. And that is 1,904,750. 1,904,750. So that is the present value of these cash flows. As long as our cost of capital is 9%, that is the present value of these cash flows. And the question told us to suggest the maximum that we ought to be paying for this opportunity. What is the maximum the firm should be willing to pay for this opportunity? The maximum is actually this figure of 1,904,750. But logically, the firm should be able to negotiate for a lower figure because you want to generate a return, you want to make a return. So you want to negotiate for something lower so that you don't simply make money equivalent to the future, to the present value of the future cash flows to be generated by that project.